Now let's shift our attention to Nigeria's export and import business. The latest monthly economic reports from the central bank puts non-oil exports provisionally at $325 million in October, indicating an increase of 190% from the preceding month. However, it shows a 46% decline on a year-on-year basis. The largest proceeds came from minerals, which stood at $126 million, although earnings from non-oil exports increased considerably from September. The value remains very low at approximately 1% of the GDP. As such, there is still significant room for improvement. Dele Alimi is the Director of Trade Promotions and International Relations at the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and it joins us to discuss the Nigeria exports business. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming on the program.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
I'm sure the exports and import business is very important. While we talk about energy on one end, there is a need for us to ensure that we keep our businesses as a country running. But how would you assess what has been going on so far in that sector of the economy?
Well, the statistics shows it all. It's something we need daily, but what is happening there now, it's not enough to support the need of a country like Nigeria. Nigeria is more into import than export. We bring in more than we send out. Of course, this has implications, and some of the implications are what we're seeing now within the Nigerian economy. Unfortunately, with the downturn in the economy, with the fall in the Naira, I would say in the last few months, import has really shrunk. This has implications because let's face the fact, it is not all imports that are bad. Some are very necessary, but it has shrunk, and it has affected sometimes even the government because it affected the private sector in the sense that once import shrinks, activities as the port also goes down. It affects the maritime sector adversely, and of course government revenue also goes down because duty, what government will make from duty, also goes down, and that has been the effect of the naira going down. People are now really weighing their options properly. Is it worth it to bring these goods into the country at these prices? I mean, you see what has happened in the last 6 months to the naira, and if you are bringing it into the country, you also look at the affordability of the people you want to sell it to, or even if it's an input into a finished product, you want to see the effect it will have in terms of pricing of that product and whether it's going to. So that's for import. For export, it's the flip side. When the naira goes down, it's like an incentive to export. People want to do more because what it means is that for whatever you export, you're making more naira now that the naira value is down. But then government's regulation now is a disincentive because when you cannot now access that fund, and government has said, look, if you bring in your revenue from your export, you can only access it through the official forex window, which to us is a disincentive. So it's not giving us, we are not taking advantage of the depreciation in the naira. At least the unofficial depreciation, we are not taking advantage of it.
No. Okay, yeah. Don't you think that the central bank's rates for the naira, it's a bit more affordable for those exporting in the country? Because if you have the source for forex from the central bank, it's giving you more room to buy at less.
Unfortunately, with the ban on about 41 items from accessing official forex, exporters are really not accessing this fund from the CBN. And again, the banks themselves are not supporting these exporters. They are not getting the kind of support they need from the bank. So the exporter asks you the question. I go through so much to get these export products ready, especially the non-oil export. I do the export and I have to, when I'm repatriating the fund, it comes to the bank. And you're now telling me I cannot access that fund. I cannot collect my hard-earned foreign currency and do anything I want with it. They're saying if I want to get it back, it has to be at the official rate of. So it's a disincentive, more or less. people are not eager to do it. Because the whole essence of doing it now, the advantage it gives now is that, okay, for every dollar I now make, I can make more naira because the value of
the naira is dropped.
It's exactly. But if that is not happening, exporters are not going to smile, and it's not going to attract new people to go into it. And really, it's supposed to work that way in the sense that, okay, if importation is costing us so much, we should encourage people to export so that Nigeria can make more money. But then if we are now on another hand chasing these exporters away because the guiding principle is not attractive, at the end of the day, we are not getting anything. Don't forget, we are not producing much in this country.
Okay. I know that the government is working very hard to ensure that our manufacturing sector is up and running. We're not manufacturing as much, like you rightly mentioned. But perhaps there is something to smile about in terms of what the central bank is doing. And you know, for the past few days, we heard that to encourage business expansion within the sector, the federal government has introduced 2 new financing programs, the Export Rediscounting and Refinancing Facility, the RRF, and the Non-Oil Export Stimulation Facility, the ESF. Does that sound like a good news for exporters?
It is, of course. Of course, these are very good news. It tells us that government is no longer paying lip service to supporting this sector. In addition to that, the fact that the CBN is providing a special intervention window with 300 billion naira specifically dedicated to non-oil export sector. It's good news for exporters because today exporters tell us in the chamber that the banks are not supporting export business. So when you now have this special intervention fund, we hope that the guidelines are going to be released very soon, and the guidelines are going to be conducive, and it's going to be easy to access that fund.
It should be at single digit interest
yes,
rate.
of course, that's the announcement. So many things have to happen before you can even access the fund, so that they don't start asking for your grandmother's certificate and everything. But
No.
when that happens, then we can start, because whether we like it or not, Nigeria has to diversify, and we must do everything to support the non-oil sector. And it's also good to support in such a way that we can add value right here. So we are not just exporting the raw material, whether it's solid mineral, whether it's agri. We are also adding some value here, because the more value you add, the more job you provide within the country, and the more people are able to get money. So we are hopeful that this fund will be available very soon,
okay,
and will be accessible, will be easy to access, and then will be devoid of all any kind of corruption.
Now, do you foresee any challenge in disbursement? Because that has been a major issue as well.
Yes.
When the federal government, through the central bank, says we will be giving you these amounts of money, months later, years later, we hear that, oh, the process of disbursement was always a problem. How do you think the central bank can address that problem before the disbursement of this fund kicks off?
I think what we need to do is to engage all stakeholders in the process, the banks, the exporters themselves, and then we look at the challenges we've had on most intervention funds. What are the challenges we've had? The challenges have been issues of documentation, issues of collateral. So we need to really sit down and say, where do we meet the exporter, the banks? Where is the middle point where we can meet, and then this fund can be easily accessed? Because there's no point in putting this fund there, and years after, the money is still there, nobody's accessing it.
And do you think that your members should also know what is required of them before applying to?
Of course.
So that's to reduce the hiccups that may come along the way.
Yes, they definitely need to know. That is why sometimes we say the problem some of the time is not money. We also have the issue of management, we have the issue of capacity. So they need to be, then the government itself, or even on the side of the private sector, we need to also lift the level of our practitioners to be able to access this fund. Things they need to do. We must improve their capacity in terms of managing their businesses, in terms of putting their businesses in such a way that they can access this fund. It's very important.